My name is Mamuka Tsereteli. I'm head of America-Georgia Business Council, and I'm also a scholar of Central Asia, Caucasus, Black Sea, Caspian region. This is our fourth Gvino Forum of America, where we call this event and these activities. Exactly 4 years ago, American Academy of Science published an article authored by Patrick McGovern, who is here, and contributed by Stephen Batyuk and several other friends. Some of them are online now, watching us. An article actually proved 8,000 years history of Georgian wine. Evidence that was found in Georgia by archaeologists provided that proof. Entire new world, actually, news agencies, major publications, newspapers, media covered that story, and it was very wide coverage. But it lasted for a couple of days, but then, like any other news, it disappeared. But no news mentioned at that point that there was in addition to great tradition and great heritage of wine culture in Georgia, there was an interesting wine industry and evolution of Georgian wine industry happening in Georgia. And we thought we had to make this connection between past and history and archaeology and evolution of viticulture and viniculture in Georgia to modern day Georgian winemaking. And this is very vibrant and interesting industry in Georgia, very important for Georgian export, for Georgian economy in general, but most importantly, is very important element of Georgian culture and Georgian spiritual life. So we thought that idea of creation of this initiative, Gvino Forum, and Gvino is Georgian word for wine, which many think is origin of term vino, Latin term of vino. We would bring together scientists of wine, and scientists of wine include archaeologists, microbiologists, botanists, people who study migration of species, and many other sciences, also economics and business and other areas of activities that are part of the whatever we call science. And so we thought that we would create this initiative where we bring people together for activities that include scientific discussions, but also discussion about how Georgian wine can enter United States market, how Georgian wines in general could create an opportunity for country of Georgia to raise awareness about itself. So this is the background behind this initiative, Gvino Forum. That's why we all are here, and some number of people are watching us on Zoom today. And activities usually include wine tastings, wine educational seminars, but today is most important part for the Gvino Forum, when we will talk about, again, past, present, and future of Georgian wine as a phenomena, and not just Georgian wine, by the way, but wine in general, origin of wine and culture of wine, and everything that relates to wine. So Gvino Forum, as we call it, is celebration of 8,000 years of wine history, uninterrupted wine tradition of winemaking in Georgia, and but also a celebration of modern day winemaking, and bringing these two together is main objective. I'm repeating myself just to make sure that you all are with me on that. So I would like to start this day of conference with a presentation of Ambassador David Bakradze, Georgia's ambassador to the United States, longtime friend and a very capable ambassador of Georgia. For several years, he's leading this process of deepening partnership between our two countries, Georgia and United States. He will talk about these issues himself, but David is a career diplomat. He spent some time in different European countries. He led Georgia's European integration ministry for several years. He's been here since 2016, as I recall, and definitely made great contribution to deepening, as I said, of our bilateral relationships. And he likes wines as well, so this is important. David, please. A little sunny here, but
yes, I noticed. Thank you very much, Mamuka. I will also stand a little bit to my left so that the sun doesn't interfere. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining us. I want to congratulate you, Mamuka, personally, the Georgian Wine Agency, the American Georgian Business Council, for organizing this event in I think, one of the most beautiful places you could do it. The walking through the corridors and it was like walking through the history and getting to some place 8,000 years ago from where this discussion will emerge, and then throughout the history of Georgia, its viticulture, it's 8,000 vintages, and coming to where we are today, and how we see ourselves and the wine culture moving forward will be, I think, main issue to be discussed. Thank you for mentioning. It's been 5 years that I'm an ambassador here in the United States, and I have been privileged to work with excellent people who have throughout the years contributed to this relation, the relation that is critically important for both sides. That's why it is strategic partnership. This is a strategically important, of course, for us, Georgia. This partnership, as we see the anchor of stability for the region coming from the United States, its force pusher, its global presence, and we, on our part, we consider ourselves as United States' closest and most loyal and reliable ally in that part of the world. Throughout the last 30 years since regaining our independence, we have transformed from a country which was recipient of US taxpayers' money as a humanitarian assistance that we highly value and that we highly appreciate, to a country that is now your strong partner and contributor to global security, to promoting democracy in a very difficult and turbulent part of the world. But that's the strong bond and partnership which is based on our shared values, our shared interests. And therefore, I believe that how we came to this moment together, we will move forward with more ambitious plans. And that is how we see this partnership. That is how we see the strengthening of US foothold in our part of the world, strengthening of US presence in our region through Georgia. And there, of course, we have years of strong defense and security cooperation, but we believe in more potential for trade, for economic relations, and this is something that probably my successors will work even more harder to promote, because we believe that there is more to exchange. You will enjoy some optics from Georgia, some stories, and that will talk about the culture, about the history. But believe me, it is uncomparable to what you see when you get there. So I hope that I will see you in Georgia. I hope that this partnership that has been forged through decades by the diplomats, by the business people who have worked on our bilateral relations, like Mamuka himself, will make further steps in our bilateral relation that is important not only for us, but also for our common interests. So thank you very much. Wish you all the success in today's discussions and looking forward to listening more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. So our next speaker will be Minister of Agriculture and Environmental Protection of Georgia, Mr. Levan Davitashvili. I would like to make, he will be connecting via Zoom from Tbilisi. There is a late evening in Georgia right now, but he's obviously coming himself from wine industry, knowing this industry very well, and appreciating effort that wine agency and everybody else, many people in this room who are contributing to the promotion of Georgian wine and marketing of Georgian wine in the United States. He's definitely found some time in his very busy schedule and is joining us today. A little introduction of Minister Davitashvili. So he's, I think it's important to mention that as I said, about 20 years ago, I met Levan when he was commercial director for the company, which is at that time was pioneer of quarry wine production, commercialization of quarry wine production in Georgia. So its company was Vinoterra, and later it became Schuchman Wines. Since that time, Levan was very closely engaged in wine industry of Georgia. Then about 2012, 2013, he led Georgian Wine Agency and led many different projects that are investments of time and resources. Now, one of them being this project of proving 8,000 years history of Georgian wine. And he later became Minister of Agriculture and Environmental Protection. And under his leadership, I think it's important to mention that under his leadership, Georgian export of agricultural products is growing significantly. It's not just wine, but other products as well. And Georgia's policy to be integrated with European economic space and deep and comprehensive free trade agreement that Georgia has with the European Union allow Georgia to increase its export to European countries, but also in countries in Georgia's neighborhood.
Well, first of all, thank you for this introduction. It's really impressive, and I would like to express my real gratitude to America-Georgia Business Council for organizing this forum, and also greet our participants and guests, Ambassador Bakradze, our friends and colleagues whom I know very well, and I appreciate your attendance. It's a pleasure to make a very brief introduction about Georgian agriculture in general, and also Georgian wine status this moment. We used to have significant wine industry, which is still very important part of our agriculture, but we also faced significant challenges in early 90s and late 90s, and but last 2 decades we see revitalization of our wine sector, which is actually private sector driven, but there is also significant state assistance to wine sector, viticulture, and in agriculture in general. Now, especially in 2013, we declared agriculture as one of our priorities in rural development and in sustainable development. And of course, a big part of our agriculture is linked to wine sector. Wine is presented in almost in every region of our country. Viticulture is part of our traditions, everyday life, and I know that speakers afterwards will give more detailed presentation about the culture and importance of wine in our life and in Georgian culture. Now I will focus on the developments of last 2 decades. Initially, the industry started to increase quality, to modernize wineries, and also to invest in private wineries, because before that, all wine sector was state-owned under one state corporation, which was called Samtrest. But it was not an easy process, and we understood that in order to accelerate this process, we needed more state investments or more support to private initiatives. And this is fully in line with our strategic goals. We have three major strategic goals to increase competitiveness of agri-food sector, or agribusiness in general, and of course, sustainable use of natural resources, because agriculture is part of our nature. And also very important is to develop public services like SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary services for all agricultural activities, including, of course, wine sector. When we talk about competitiveness and value chain development, of course, and including, of course, wine value chain, while in supply chain, we consider that there is need of public infrastructure, like access to main agricultural landfills, like also irrigation and amelioration of our soils and land resources. At the same time, we need, of course, knowledge, technology, investments in agriculture, in wine sector as well, and of course that needs access to finance, and financial assistance is crucial. But not only financial assistance is important to develop our competitiveness of our sector. So we introduce an universal scheme for all sectors. It's a kind of horizontal assistance for all sectors of agriculture, including viticulture and including also processing of agricultural products and food sector, preferential and loan schemes. These are low interest loans available for all producers, all initiatives. But as this is an universal scheme, and that pretty much contributed to fast development and modernization of our agricultural and wine sector, now we understand that in parallel there is always need of technical assistance, and public extension network is key part of this. R&D is very important because we need to have an access to modern findings, modern technologies, and modern technological achievements in agriculture, in viticulture, and also in winemaking. Even though wine is an ancient traditional sector for Georgia, it also includes a lot of innovations, and that should be also supported. And we need to empower our farmers and also our winemakers to have an access to modern knowledge and technology. So for this, we invested in our scientific research center. We had very important traditions of science and research in agriculture in general. We had 30 plus different research institutes in agriculture, but most of them were not so active in early 2000. And so we started to invest and make something more flexible, but also for the interest of private sector research center, which is run by the Ministry of Agriculture. We have a lot of experimental fields. We are maintaining one of the largest collection of viticulture in the world, with more than 800 grape varietals, including more than 400 indigenous Georgian vitis vinifera grape varieties. And of course, this is also a very important part. Regarding, these kind of measures helped us to accelerate this development trend in agriculture, and in particular in wine sector. We managed to modernize all our wineries, invest in modern technologies. Of course, it's also very important that we invested a lot of money in modern infrastructure, or also in renovation of existing old traditional wine cellars to make them more attractive for travelers, visitors, wine lovers who appreciate wine. So that now most of the wineries have also their travel facilities, and these are a lot of investments, but investments which we attracted from private sector, also supported from state co-financing. These are either, as I mentioned, some loan schemes, or they are also very targeted matching grants for SMEs, small and medium producers, and most of our wine producers are SMEs at the end. Now, we had a few wineries capable to export their produce in like 10 years ago. With this kind of support from state side, nowadays we have almost 500 exporters. These are professional exporters registered, and their production is fully traceable by National Wine Agency. They do regular reporting, they do regular presentations to wine regulator. So this is a certified production destined for export, and our export figures are also promising. Export is growing, and we have ambitious goal for 2030, next 10 years time, to be one of the major wine exporting countries, like there are new world countries and traditional countries. Already this year we have significant achievement, notwithstanding with these challenges with COVID, all the limitation and restrictions in some target markets in HoReCa sector. This year export figures are promising. Year to date export sales are 85 million bottles, which is around $200 million export sales. And this year, by the end of this year, we expect that our export will be 1.5 million bottles, and totally export of wine and wine brandy, which is also an important sector. We are selling more than 40 million bottles annually of wine-based brandy and bulk brandy. It will be more than $300 million sales. Actually, it is already year-to-date figure is like $310 million. We expect to have additional 100 million sales of grape origin products, grape origin alcoholic products. Of course, we see America as a very prospective market because this is a strategic partner. It's the most important political partner for Georgia, and is a reliable ally for our country. For us, it has a very special importance to be presented in American market, and I have to again thank to Mamuka Tsereteli and Georgia America Business Council contributing Georgian wine awareness in American market, and also this forum can help us to promote and recognition of Georgian wines. So we think that America and wine sales are growing in the United States. This year we expect that first 1 million bottles will be, it will be first time that we will actually pass 1 million target. I talk in bottles. But we see that the last several years we have a regular growth trend in American market. We also understand that in addition to generic communication about Georgian wine, there is a big space to support Georgian companies to do trade marketing activities. And actually this is also a new project in our portfolio to promote private companies to do their trade marketing activities and campaigns. This is very briefly where we stand this moment. We are quite optimistic about the development and current status of Georgian wine sector, but of course all this is based on the roots and long time traditions, ancient traditions, which will be presented today in this forum. As I said, that there are many prominent scientists contributing this international multidisciplinary research project. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Levan. Thank you very much. I think maybe one question from me, and then maybe one question from the audience, if anybody wants to ask a question from the audience, if that's okay, if you still have maybe another 5-10 minutes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so question is about, my question is about overall strategy of Georgian wines. You mentioned that there is a significant growth and there is a support on multiple levels from the government, but you definitely have United States. We talked about that. There is a priority, but what are the other priority markets for Georgia? And if in general, if you give us sort of prospects of how can we get to this 2030 kind of growth, what is your vision to that program? Thank you.
Mamuka, thank you. This is this very important question. Actually, it covers many areas of our wine sector development. Of course, we initially, when we started to focus on marketing and marketing communications of Georgian wines, we made very comprehensive research and of many markets, and we selected some target markets, including, of course, the United States is one of our priorities, but there are priority markets like United Kingdom. We see that Eastern Europe, like Baltics and Poland, that's also another very important destination for Georgian wines, having certain awareness already from from Soviet times. But not only, we see that in general, European Union is priority for our wine sector, but not only for wine, but also for other agri-food products. And already right now, we try to diversify our markets, export markets, and decrease dependence on traditional markets like Russia and ex-Soviet countries, and increase our sales to other markets. So at this moment, almost 20% of our agri-food products go to Europe. And then, of course, we cannot exclude fast-growing Southeastern Asia, including China, where we also have some progress and significant progress last years. We do regular marketing activities in these markets. We bring a lot of information about Georgia, and this information is delivered by professionals, masters of wine, and also professional wine writers, those who have their reputation in that particular markets. Japan is one of them as well. And when we talk about Southeastern Asia, it's of course China and Japan mostly, but South Korea is emerging as well. As I said, we need to triple our wine sales. This is a very ambitious goal within the next 9 years. And also we need to triple value of our export sales, not only volume. For this, we will accelerate a special targeted grant program for private companies to boost marketing activities. So final target is to find Georgian wines in most of in major sales channels, not only having presence in some niche sectors for some wine lovers, but it should be widely available for in HoReCa sectors, in at least in these target markets.
Thank you, Levan. Any question from the audience? You covered it so well that the audience is silent, but I have one last question maybe. It's about, you mentioned about increase of value, increase of obviously numbers. Last 10 years were marked by growth of small and somewhat medium-sized, on the Georgian standard, wineries, family-based wineries, and really that allowed much larger export to occur. Much larger number of actors actually being involved in export activities. Much larger number of exporters emerged in Georgia in wine industry. I think my question is, so it was very important trend, an important contributor to Georgian wine industry development. At the same time, you made a very ambitious target, and that requires growth of larger wineries as well and increase in volumes. My question is, how are you going to balance this? Because this trend of last 10 years needs to continue, because it's essential for particularly rural development of Georgia. But at the same time, you need to increase this value and volume of production. I know it's a challenging question, but if you can answer it in few words, that will be helpful, at least to initiate this conversation about this subject.
I will try to be as brief as possible. This is a very good question as well, Mamuka. We need to keep this growing number of wine producers to be supported. And as I said, we have already a few hundred wineries who are able to export their produce to 65 different countries. at this moment. And this geography is growing, and also producers, number of producers is growing. It's very important for our rural development, for overall, richness of Georgian wine culture, because we don't need only few varietals from Georgia. One of the key topics that is interesting about Georgian wine is a biodiversity. Indigenous grape varietals, which I mentioned that we have more than 400, and they are usually regional ones and presenting in particular regions. And small wineries are the ones who pioneer restoration of these traditions in Imereti, Racha, Guria, and others. We see that quality of their production is growing because we have a lot of support ideas and support schemes in place in field, especially technical assistance. Our National Wine Agency does regular activity, including scientific research center, and with our public extension to educate, small wine producers how to using these traditional techniques, but at the same time using modern knowledge. Also, our laboratories are engaged in this process. Improving quality is crucial, is critical, that they are capable to export their products in the international markets. At the same time, of course, communication is very important. And we do training, and we do also marketing support for their activities, their participation in different trade shows, in different exhibitions, etc. So we will continue to support, small and medium or family producers. This is richness, and is very important for Georgian wine sector in general. But at the same time, we have to balance and also keep support for larger scale producers and companies, because sometimes they can be drivers and leaders in some markets. And we see that usually one or two companies, they pioneered in our existing markets like Poland, Germany, Ukraine, and now these are the markets who are very new for our wine export sales. Like a few years ago, we totally depended on Russian sales. Only like big and larger scale companies, they managed to enter these markets. And of course, then we have a big number of followers who follow their decisions. And lastly, about quality control schemes. Quality control we have in place is probably the one of the strictest, if not the strictest in the world. We have full traceability, starting from vineyards and grape harvesting, ending with bottling, that each lot is controlled and checked through many parameters by internationally accredited laboratories. In addition, there is also a special tasting commission, and there is a full conformity certification from National Wine Agency, so that all wines exported from Georgia have minimum quality requirements. And this is also very important when we talk about ambitious goals of 2030 agenda. We need to have quality and we have to have reliable production.
Thank you, Levan. Thank you, Roy, for your time and this very important insights. And I think we all enjoyed your presentation and your thank you for sharing this knowledge. And we hope that developments all around the world will allow us to have you in person for our next Nghvino Forum next year, hopefully. We'll announce it sometime probably early January, but we'll keep you posted on that. And thank you again for your time and participation in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamuka, and wish you very successful continuation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.